Please be advised that everything in my video is purely for entertainment purposes. These are purely my thoughts and opinions and are subjective. I must advise you to please do your own research. All media users found on the public domain and are fair use and fair dealings.
Hey everyone! So I said I'd be back and I am. There's just a slight tweak to the programming. The next video is going to be the Royal Caribbean tour. I took so many photographs. I wasn't there, obviously, I wish. But I've taken video clips and I've had to make sure that, that they're not copyrighted and stuff. So I'm going to do like a really nice video on it. But there's been so many little bits and bobs that have come out in the last few days. I want to keep you updated as well with what's going on with some of the other royals. So I did say on my last video that I got another present. It was the Book of Light, which my mum got me. It's great. See, look, looks like a nice book. And you open it up and woo! Also great for Halloween. Look at that. That's the difference of bad lighting. Wow, I've got some bags under there. There we go. Don't like that so much, but it's great. I'll get my face away from it. You can have it open like that. You can have it open like an open book, yeah, which is lovely, isn't it? Or you can even do that with it, and it clips into place, and it's like a big old Chinese lantern type thing. So it's really, really lovely. I love it. And as I said, you can definitely use it at Halloween to do the creepy stories. That is going on the bookshelf. So what have we got that's come up in the news? Well, everyone is talking about the Oscars. Thankfully, Harry and Meghan did not actually go to the Oscars themselves, so that turned out to be chuck enough stuff at the wall and something will stick. But obviously everyone's still talking about it. And in a way, I kind of wish Harry and Meghan had gone, because Meghan would have had her star moment handing over an Oscar and no one would have cared, because everyone is just talking about Will Smith slapping the crap out of Chris Rock. I'm going to say that I don't agree with it. I think that Will Smith laughed initially when Chris Rock said the joke. He joked about Jada Pinkett Smith's hair looking like G.I. Jane. Now, like Demi Moore, Jada Pinkett Smith, Jada, beautiful face. She suits that, it's a lovely hairstyle. But apparently she's got alopecia. She took offence to it. Apparently there's some weird rivalry thing going on with them. I have no idea. But Will Smith laughed initially, then he went up on stage and slapped the crap out of him. And the people in the audience were naturally very shocked. And then he sat back down and just kept screaming profanities at him. I was like, that bit much. But the worst bit was this woke Hollywood audience cheered because Will Smith got on stage afterwards, accepted his award, which he was allowed to still continue to do, cried a bit and said that he was defending his wife's honour in a matter or so words. If you're going to defend your wife's honour, you can still be respectful. There were children in that audience. There were people watching it. I think he should have just dragged him, if he needed to be, off the side of the stage, off on cameras, had a word with him. Or even better, gone on stage and publicly said to Chris Rock, taking the microphone off him like Kanye did to Taylor Swift, and say how much he loves his wife and make Chris Rock apologise. But to go up on stage at the Oscars and to just slap him and all these Holly weirdos giving him an applause. What sort of message does that send out to people? So that was absolutely shocking. So the Oscars this year are going to be remembered for something very negative, and luckily Harry and Meghan weren't the reason. So let's start with my favourite royal naturally, which is the Queen, who did an engagement at Windsor, and this is the healthiest I've seen her look since the passing of Prince Philip. She's gained the much needed weight back in her face. She looked happy, she looked healthy, she was all smiles, she looked like she was having a great time. She was there looking at all of the artefacts by British company Halcyon Days. They actually have 3 royal warrants, and that is a big deal. It means that they are held in very high regard by the royal family. So it is the royal stamp of approval. So naturally, you can imagine there's quite a lot of people that have probably bought that because of those stamps. So there are gorgeous items here that the Queen was looking through, from teacups to teapots to intricate trinket boxes. The Queen was all smiles as well as she went through a yearbox, the company's first one being made in 1977 in honour of the Queen's Silver Jubilee. I was really happy to see this because we were getting a lot of stories coming out how the Queen was cancelling appointments, and I don't know, the media just seem to be doing a real negative spin on it lately. I don't know if you guys are picking up on that, saying that the Queen, talking about her being in a wheelchair and stuff like that. How disrespectful. Until that happens, it's no one's business. She had a cane, but I mean, she's 95 years old. She does a lot of stuff. I mean, sadly, she had to give up horse riding, but I'm hoping that's just a temporary fix until she can get herself out and about more. But some of the newspapers seem to be on a real negative attack of the royal family at the moment, and that's another thing. When I'm doing my Caribbean tour, I'm not mentioning any of the negative stuff that these people came out with. I mentioned it obviously in the last video, and it just seems to be this big narrative. I don't like the way it's going, and I hope lots of people aren't listening to it, because as I'll show you in the video that I'll be creating next, the tour was a massive success. People love Catherine and William. And as for those photographs, the ones that people are now doing, oh, slavery, colonialism, where Catherine and William copied the Queen and Prince Philip in that car, that was set up by the Jamaican authorities. They asked them to do that. Should Catherine and William have turned around and said, no, sorry, it's the optics, we shouldn't do that? Because then that would also be, surely that's disrespectful to your hosts. It's the same as all these people going on about the fences. As I said, see, this really triggers me. But what were they meant to do? Just walk past and not shake hands with people because of the optics? Get over yourself. At the end of the day, the Queen is still head of state there. If they want to remove her, that's fine, that's up to them. But they weren't there as ambassadors trying to convince the countries to stay, with the Queen there as head of state. It was a tour to go around in celebration of the Queen's Jubilee, because the Queen can't do it herself anymore. I thought it was well done, it was well executed, and I'll talk more about that in my next video. Rant over. In exciting news, because we haven't seen her for a little while, we had Sophie, the Countess of Wessex, looking lovely. This dress, some people said they don't like it, but I love the colour on her. I love the intricate details of the little bursts of random colour on the dress. Sophie can wear a range of dresses, and there's an element of it where, maybe it wasn't the most flattering that we've seen her in, but I think she looked lovely. She's such a beautiful woman. I think sometimes just people nitpick for the sake of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know that I've been negative about some of Meghan's dresses, but the inverted nipple red dress, I mean, come on, that deserved a little bit of criticism. I have also been very nice about some other outfits that Meghan's worn in my defence. But Sophie, yeah, she looked wonderful. She was actually there to attend the Arab Women of the Year Awards, and I think she looked absolutely gorgeous. The event was hosted by the Bista Collection in partnership with London Arabia, and it was celebrating achievements by Arab women across the globe. The occasion was also used to unveil the Unlock Her Future campaign, which strives to ensure young girls have access to basic education and healthcare, and are also protected from forced marriages and various other abuses that they can suffer. Obviously, this is a subject that's very close to Sophie's heart and everything that she does for women's rights, speaking to the UN. So it was lovely to see her in attendance. It's a shame Prince Edward was not there with her, because I think they just make such a lovely, handsome couple. In some lovely news, Charles and Camilla had been doing a mini royal tour of their own to Ireland, and I've got a lovely clip here of Charles and Camilla doing some traditional Irish dancing, and I had to include it in the video because I think it's adorable. Charles is actually schmoozing, doing some dad wedding dancing with a lovely young lady, and Camilla is getting stuck in. Ireland is definitely one of the many places that are on my list of places to travel to. I know I've got a lovely friend that is helping me out with places to stay. I just don't know. I mean, obviously COVID, you're trying to get your feet back on the ground going, ooh, I can't go on holiday. I can't get on an aeroplane again. Now, in some funny news, this is, honestly, I'll try not to giggle because I do try and be, I would say I'm semi-professional, but I'm not professional. I'm sitting on my living room floor in my living room talking to you guys, but it's me. We're going to do it in the best way that I can. And Harry's lawyers have got in trouble. Not only have they got in trouble, they've got a serious bitch slap from the judge. So obviously I spoke about in the last video that Harry got in trouble with the court case to do with the Mail on Sunday because he's airing petty grievances and using court documents and paperwork to do it. But his lawyers have now got in trouble for the other court case that he's involved in. Honestly, it's just insane, where he's actually suing Her Majesty's government to do with his paid for security. One of the rulings that the judge has decided on, Judge Nick Swift, I believe it is, was the fact that certain areas of this case need to be kept private, away from the public, which is obvious because it's to do with suing the government, which is quite serious, and then royal security. So not everything can become common knowledge. Now, you would think that Harry and his team would want this above all else, given the fact they're suing the Mail on Sunday for various things that have been leaked. But Harry's lawyers decided at the moment that the judge ruled, yes, okay, you get certain elements of privacy on this case, they emailed former British Army Major General Tim Robinson. Mr. Robinson works for Shillings, this is Harry's favourite legal team, and he's basically a reputation damage control expert. Hard to believe that Harry would need someone in that profession these days. So the hypocrisy here is the judge finally sides with Harry and says, all right, we'll keep some of this private. And then their team were the first ones to email stuff that was now meant to be sealed and private to someone who is not a lawyer. And I've got the exchange here from Ms. Fatima, who is Harry's lawyer. This is her speaking to the judge, okay? We didn't think that there had been a breach. Let me disabuse you of that notion. There has been a breach. Ooh, strike one. I take full responsibility for what has happened, but no apology. Strike two. With hindsight, I should have thought more fully before the emails were sent. I should have, out of abundance of caution, contacted the court. This is where the judge starts getting really feisty, right? It's not for me to require you to apologise. It should be a matter for you as a professional conscience. When Ms. Fatima finally decided to apologise in this exchange with quite clearly a very pissed off judge, the judge then responded with a final blow. And that was to end the conversation. She said that it was not doing her any good and her words were not particularly well chosen. Basically, shh. The judge basically gave Harry's lawyer the equivalent of the Will Smith Chris Rock slap round the face, but just verbally. I kind of like that judge. It's a feisty judge. Now, my final bit of news. I spoke too soon on the other video where I said that Meghan and Harry, strangely quiet on Catherine and William's tour. But the moment that they left Jamaica, where a lot of the negative controversy came out from, and they went to the Bahamas and were having absolutely positive news, they loved them, that's when Meghan reared her head. And it was like, I told you, calculated. Always calculated. So she's reared her head and finally said, after near enough a year and a half, that she's finally got round to recording some Spotify podcasts. And it's going to be released in the summer. Now, my guess is, do we reckon the Queen's actual Jubilee week, or do we think Prince William's 40th birthday? All of the above. Because you know it's going to be smack bang in there. Now, the way that she's going with it, which means it'll be a chance for her to talk about being a mother to a daughter now, this is the way it's going to go, is she's called it archetypes. Now, archetypes is to do with, in this instance, in her instance, that negative things that are said about women that define us or can slow us down, that can put us on the backseat. It can make us not achieve as well in life. I don't know what decade Meghan is living in her brain, but there have been a lot of strong women in companies and workplaces and a lot of protection for women for a long time. She uses phrases like women being called a slut and a skank, which that to me... The worst insults I've ever had are off women to women, but she's attacking men. And this is this whole victim narrative again. Women are not victims. If a man did turn around and call you a slut, that's not going to define you and how you live your life. And I find it a bit cheesy. As I said, it's this whole thing. She just seems to be decades behind in time. And it's always to do with this woke culture. Woke doesn't mean what it used to anymore. It's to do with you are always a victim. Nothing is ever your fault. You are not culpable for anything. If you have done something wrong, it's due to a certain person has done something to you at some point. And it sucks, it stinks, and a lot of us are getting pissed off with it. But yeah, Meghan is obviously one of these people. That's why she's embraced by this new version of woke culture where nothing's ever your fault. And Harry's obviously skipped over to this side of it because Harry has always been fairly petulant and he's never taken responsibility for any of his actions. Now, naturally, People jump straight on archetypes. You think Archwell, archetypes. So it's a great thing. Meghan's finally thought something up of herself. No, she didn't. She hasn't. Caroline Miss. She might have something to say about that because she's actually got a book and she has studied archetypes for a number of years to do with people being defined, put in boxes, finding out how that defines you as a person. So can everyone say it with me? Plagiarism yet again. So obviously that's no great big shocker, but as I said, talk about going back time and decades. I think Meghan is literally putting us back decades actually with her arguments. So here's the transcript here of what actually happens, which leads me on to my next bit afterwards. But she's saying things like, she's a slut. These people think I should be quiet and submissive. Do you have the word skanky in America? They are weaker, smaller, less intelligent. Sorry, ladies, how many of you out there have actually been called things like that in recent years? People can literally lose their jobs and get cancelled because they've gone all right sugar tits. I mean, and as I said, the worst insults I've ever had in my entire life are from other women. But bearing in mind everything that Meghan has done, for her to be doing this, she slut-shamed her sister, Samantha. That's why one of the reasons why Samantha's suing her. She slut-shamed her, talking about how many different children she has by different fathers. She completely talked down Catherine and any of the real abuse that Catherine had over the years from the press and the media. And she downplayed it because it didn't count, because Meghan, what she went through is far worse. And on top of that, they helped, between the combination of Harry and Meghan, they trashed an elderly woman, his grandmother, she was 94 at the time, why Prince Philip lay dying. People are not going to forgive that. But now Meghan is speaking for the women of the world. As I said, this is now a new version of Meghan, you know, the video I did reinventing Meghan. But it's so new, she's now even changed her voice. I'm going to torture you, but bear with it. It's a very short clip. This is Meghan's podcast clip, right? And this is going to be directly after that is elephants and when she was chatting about something else. That's the Meghan. The second part of it is Meghan's old voice. So I'm sorry for some of you, but you've got to listen to it.
I'm Meghan, and this is Archetypes, the podcast where we dissect, explore, and subvert the labels that try to hold women back.
Johnny has already lost track of Jomo. There he is.
He came to see me in Toronto, and our friends and his cousin Eugenie, and now her husband Jack, they came as well, and the four of us snuck out in Halloween costumes to just have one fun night on the town.
It's like she has had her voice slowed down, put to a deeper tone, made herself more serious. This is no longer the Duchess of Sussex. This is Meghan. It is fake and it is as creepy as the rest of it. So you've got a little bit of plagiarism going on. You've got Meghan reinventing her own voice now. Are all of the podcasts going to be like that? We know she doesn't sound like that. This isn't something that's just new. When she read the book, Duck, Duck, Rabbit, you can go onto YouTube and listen to Meghan's voice at any point. This sounds like auto-tune. They've slowed her down to something that's supposed to be more mature. And to top it all off, that bit that I showed you, the transcript for it, where people saying, oh, she's a slut and stuff like this, they are actual voice snippets off radio stars, off of their men speaking. But Meghan quite clearly did not seek permission from any of these men, I know the irony here, to use their voice. And one particular voice has spoken out recently, which Spotify are yet to answer him. So it's quite clearly obvious from Tom's response here that not only is she trying to humiliate him because he said something which is taken completely out of context, which I'm sure he probably wouldn't give a toss about anyway, but the fact that she has used someone's voice and not asked permission. It's just absolutely outstanding. One of those words that I use a lot. And I can't get my head around it. This is Meghan, as I said, that her female staff got terrorised by her. Now Meghan is using her podcast to be a voice for women all around the world, telling us what sets us back. This modern, as I said, wokedom, this no one takes responsibility for anything. You can always blame people. If someone said this to you in your past or did this to you in your past, you have a reason to behave a certain way now. Sorry, it doesn't wash with me. So I hope you enjoyed the video. It was a bit of a mishmash because I like talking about the other royals, and I will be back with you with the Royal Caribbean tour. So I'm going to start filming it tomorrow morning, and I aim to get it out tomorrow evening. But obviously, as I said, I've got a lot of stuff and I want it to be good. I want it to be nice, and there's going to be no moaning whatsoever and no negative criticism. And I really am conducting, so it's time for me to go. Time to say goodbye, like a children's TV presenter. Take care for now, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.
If you like my video, please remember to like and subscribe. Please, angry typists, you will be blocked, so save your fingers the time. If you would like to buy me a coffee, please go to my About page and click the link. Love, Taz.